Oh, picturean mo ako. Picturean mo ako dito. Sige.
1, 2.
Doon sa malayo, tapos iganyan mo yung live streaming. Sige, sige. Sama mo si Alvin. Pati ikaw ano ka, selfie. Sige na, mag-selfie ka, ano ka. Para makuha ito. Sige. Sige, pati si Alvin. Ba't hindi nakikita? Sige. Bayan. Ano, okay na? Good evening, mga ka-YouTubers. Welcome again to another live streaming of tax training. And today is Thursday, August 20, 2020. Maulan na gabi. Ito, malakas ang ulan sa labas. But here we are again, no? Parang sarap matulog kasi malamig, no? And welcome to this another live streaming. Shout out, meron ng nandyan? Sinong shout out natin?
Meron lang si Ma'am Karon G, ma'am. Good evening daw.
Karon,
Karon G.
Bago siya.
Si ma'am, madalas na rin siya ma'am, kaso mga nakaraan.
Okay. So shout out. Good evening, Miss Karon. Karon, hindi Karen.
Hindi ma'am.
Good evening. No, and welcome to our live streaming. And tonight, our topic would be about itong bagong revenue memorandum circular na tungkol sa mga related party transactions, no? So pag-usapan natin itong mga requirements na hindi ko alam kung nakakatuwa kasi marami, no? Marami, tsaka may mga gray area, so isa-isahin natin, no? Ito yung RMC circular number 76-2020. Okay? So, shout out muna natin yung ating mga subscribers, no? Umabot na tayo ng 4,150. So, thank you very much. And this is for you, no? Itong mga ginagawa namin, nag-update. Pero ito, ikwento ko lang sa inyo kasi parang hindi pwede na hindi ko ikwento eh. Kasi kagabi nung kaming dalawa ni Harry, nagre-record kami dito ng video para dun sa bookkeeping for general merchandise. So sabi ko kay Harry, sige Harry, iwanan mo na ako dito kasi naka-video naman to eh. So ako nang bahala dito. Nagbi-video ako, nagsasalita. Bigla na lang, hindi ko naman ginalaw yung laptop, hindi naman ginalaw lahat. Bigla na lang nawala yung pumuti yung laptop, wala lahat. As in, mga icon, nawala lahat. Habang nagsasalita ako, nabigla ako. Kasi naka-record eh. No? So, nabigla ako. Ngayon, inayos namin yung laptop, nag-record ulit. Nung naka 2 minutes na, wala, hindi na talaga kaya. Para na kaming, inaano dito yung, parang somebody na, parang tumatayo na yung balahibo mo, parang iba na yung pakiramdam. Kaya hindi natapos yung video. Tinapos na lang kaninang umaga. Something weird happened, no? Ganun talaga ang mundo. May mga hindi tayo maintindihan. So talaga nangyayari. Hindi na namin natapos yung video kagabi. Pero ilang take din yun, ha? Bigla na lang, itong laptop na ginagamit ko, bigla na lang siyang nag-blackout, no? Wala namang virus ito. May virus ba ito, Hari? Wala eh. So, ganun talaga. At first time na nangyari sa amin sa tagal na. Oh, kailan ba tayo nag-umpisa dito na nag-video? Matagal na. March pa tayo ng YouTube eh. No? Oh, so mga 5 months na. First time lang yung nangyari. Okay. So let's now go to our topic. And our topic is about the related party transactions, no? Bakit related party transactions? Ito related party transactions, umpisa na to, especially yung ending ng March 31, dapat na sila mag-file, no? Kasi kailan yung deadline nila on the filing ng ITR? July. So July, effective na itong regulations na to. So dapat magpa-file na sila ng kanilang related party transactions na documentation. Binigyan naman sila ng deadline ng BIR hanggang September, no? Hanggang September 30. Kaya pag-usapan natin 'to kasi marami na talagang nire-require na mag-document ng kanilang related party transactions. At ito related party transactions, ito yung transfer pricing actually, no? Kasi ang related party transactions under PAS or Philippine Accounting Standards 24, ito yung transfer pricing, no? Iba lang yung tawag, iba lang yung pangalan. At ang provisions niyan sa ating National Internal Revenue Code is the Section 50 ng National Internal Revenue Code. Oh? Okay. So, tuloy lang tayo. Walang magsi-shout out.
Ma'am, siya ma'am. Ma'am Mary Grace Randrak, ma'am.
Nandyan. Good evening, Miss Mary Grace.
Meron ma'am bago ma'am si Laura Sico.
Okay.
Laura Sico, ma'am.
Laura Sico. Okay, first time niya. So, good evening. No? Welcome to our online streaming po ng tax training. And tonight, our topic will be about the documentation of related party transactions. At meron din po tayong question and answer. No? So, tuloy lang po tayo. At lumakas na naman ang ulan. No? Okay. So, ito po yung circular, no? Ito yung circular na 76-2020, no? Kailan ang date nito, Hari? July ito eh. Hindi mo kinuha yung date? No? Kasi yung date, importante yan sa regulations. Diyan yan mag-uumpisa yung effectivity niya. Oh? So, Revenue Memorandum Circular 76-2020, siya yung nag-clarify ng Revenue Regulations 19-2020. No? Okay. So, ano itong related party transactions? Oh? Okay. Anong rationale o ano yung purpose ng Revenue Regulations 19-2020 wherein ni-require na yung mga companies with related party transactions shall disclose sa kanilang income tax return itong BIR Form 1709, no? 1709, 3 pages yun. Nandoon nakalagay kung ano yung i-disclose. Meron na tayong video on that, no? How to fill up BIR Form 1709 for related party transactions. Nasa tax training na po na channel natin. No? So, ito naman, clarification lang. Itong Revenue Regulation 76-2020, clarification lang nung RR number 19-2020. Okay? Ano daw yung objectives or yung reason behind bakit nagkaroon ng Revenue Regulations 19-2020? To ensure the proper disclosure of related party transactions. Ano yung proper disclosure? Siyempre, yung information na ibibigay mo, sapat ba siya, no? Kasi kung balikan natin yung Revenue Regulations 2-2013, ito po yung transfer pricing guidelines natin. Anong sabi tungkol sa documentation? It should be verifiable, no? It should be adequate and verifiable. At saka ano pa, contemporaneous, no? So yung disclosure ng mga related party transactions, dapat yan kompleto, verifiable, no, are made, and these transactions have been conducted at arm's length. So, ano ba yung principle adopted by this transfer pricing when it comes to related party transactions? The principle of the arm's length, no? Ano yung arm's length? Related party transactions should be similar or equal to the independent party transactions. Why? Because the true transactions in the market is that of the independent transaction. Why? Because related party transaction has the element of control. And when we say element of control, the one who is controlling the other party control the other party to have benefits. No? So iba na ang reason pagka may element of control na. Hindi na kagaya dun sa independent party na pagka independent yung price sa market, ang determinant niyan is the economic forces, hindi yung control. No? So, bakit kailangan na arm's length po yung pricing ng goods and services between related parties? In order to protect the tax base. Bakit to protect the tax base? Because if there is an element of control, nakokontrol po nila yung price, sometimes nakokontrol nila ang price in their favor to optimize the payment of taxes. That's why nagkakaroon ng sila ng mga malalaking tax savings. So in that case, yung tax base o yung babayaran na tax in a certain country, lumiliit. No? So the aim is improving and strengthening the BIR transfer pricing, risk assessment, and audit. So ito na, kinlarify ng Revenue Regulation 76-2020 kung bakit ini-issue ng BIR ang Revenue Regulations 19-2020 on the related party transactions to strengthen and improve the BIR transfer pricing, risk assessment, and audit. Ano yung risk assessment? Risk of assessing, no, the transfer pricing issues, no? Saka yung audit, transfer pricing audit. Ano tong tinatawag natin na transfer pricing audit? Ito yung may involvement ang related party transactions. Okay. So, with the information gathered and related party transactions form and its attachment, no? So, ano mangyayari? The BIR will be able to perform transfer pricing risk assessment. Kasi pag may transfer pricing risk assessment, yun ang priority for the tax audit, no? So, make an informed decision at the early stage whether or not to conduct a thorough review or audit of a particular entity or transaction. So, with the limited resources ng BIR, so makapag-focus siya sa audit and then gamitin niya yung resources niya on most important transfer pricing issues, no? Ano-ano ba yung mga issues sa transfer pricing? Napakarami, no? So, depende kung paano ginawa yung scheme, no? Na doon papasok yung transfer pricing issues. But if you try to look at the financial statement, kahit saang anggulo doon ng financial statement, from the balance sheet up to the income statement, may mga posibilidad doon na may mga transfer pricing issues, no? Okay. So, question number 2, how is the BIR going to use the information? Next slides.
Delay sa YouTube na to. Delay lang.
Okay. So, how is the BIR going to use the information contained in the new form? No? Ano yung new form? Yung BIR Form 1709. No? So, will there be another RMO, Revenue Audit Memorandum Order for the guidance of revenue officers, tax examiners conducting transfer pricing audit? Gagawa ba? Kasi meron pa tayo yung kagagawa lang na RAMO 1-2019. No? As aforestated, the objective of the new form is to improve, no, and strengthen BIR transfer pricing risk assessment and audit. shall be used to monitor compliance with the transfer pricing documentation. Actually, wala po silang sinasabi na specific as to the transfer pricing documentation. But if we should consider yung basis ng paggawa ng transfer pricing guidelines ng BIR, which is the OECD transfer pricing guidelines, then we will go back to the 3/3 transfer pricing guidelines of the OECD transfer pricing guidelines noong 2017. At ano po yung 3/3 na transfer pricing documentation? Ito po yung master file, the country-by-country reporting, at saka yung local file. No? So, ito yung mga transfer pricing documentation na diniscuss doon sa OECD transfer pricing guidelines. So, in practice, the new form will give the BIR an initial assessment of the following. So, yung form na 1709, no? So, magagamit siya ng BIR. Why? Kasi doon sa form, parang nakasummarize na doon yung mga related party transactions. No? So, by just looking at the form, malalaman mo na kung ito maraming transfer pricing issues. So, medyo high risk ito for tax audit. So, number 1, total gross amounts of related party transactions per relationship type, no? Per relationship type, ano bang klase yung relationship nila? Parent, entities with joint control or significant influence over the entity, subsidiaries, associates, joint ventures in which the entity is a joint venture, management personnel of the entity or its parent, and other related parties. Sino itong mga other related parties? Ito yung mga members of the family, no? Kahit sabihin nila, ma'am, wala naman kami dyan sa stockholder. Hindi nyo naman makita, kaya hindi kami related party. Pero if you try to look at the dealings, no? Sila lahat ang may control family corporations. So, related party din po yun. The countries with whom the Philippines taxpayer has entered into related party transaction as well as the details about the foreign related party entity. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito? No? Kasi dito gagamitin itong BIR Form 1709. No? Saan siya gagamitin? The countries with whom the Philippines taxpayers entered into related party transactions as well as the details about the foreign related party entity. Nandun na. Kikita mo na sa form or sa 1709. So wala nang kahirap-hirap yung BIR. And even in other countries, meron na rin po silang transfer pricing na form na nakasummarize na doon yung kanilang related party transactions. The BIR will still study and analyze the information in the form and TPD when selecting taxpayers to be subjected to tax. No? So, investigation under its audit program. In addition to other information, such as level of profitability and tax paid in the Philippines. No? So, actually, ang dami mong magiging basis pagka nag-audit ka. Kaya sinabi dito, pwede yung level of profitability. So, anong gagawin mo dito? Yung mga ratio, no? Yung mga ratio na makukuha mo sa financial statements. Iba-ibang klase yan, profit level indicator. And also the tax paid in the Philippines, no? That can also be the basis na subject mo na sila sa tax audit. Okay. So, examiners are expected to conduct a more detailed transfer pricing analysis of individual transactions and prices based on functional analysis, taking into account the economically significant activities and responsibilities undertaken. No? So, ano daw ang i-consider ng examiner? Functional analysis. No? Functional analysis, actually, ito yung pinakauna sa transfer pricing factor na dapat mo i-consider the functions, no? The assets, the risk, no? So, yung functional analysis ng company. Ano ba yung functions niya? Sample of functions are manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, logistics, no? Marketing. So, pwedeng ganyan yung functions ng company. The assets used or contributed, the risk assumed by the parties to the transactions, and comparability analysis between controlled and uncontrolled transactions. The heart of transfer pricing is comparability. Bakit? Kasi we adopt the arm's length principle, and what is the arm's length principle? Compares the transactions between related party and that of the independent party. So, paano mong gagawin mo? I-compare mo. That's why the comparability is the heart of transfer pricing. Kasi magko-compare ka ng independent party transactions with that of the related party transactions. Okay. As regards enforcement of international cooperation between treaty partners through the exchange of information, ito na yung mga tool na pwede na magamit ng BIR. No? So, meron na tayong mga treaty partners, nag-increase na, 43 na. Meron na tayong tinatawag na exchange of information. Ano tong exchange of information? Pwede na tayong manghingi ng mga information coming from other countries when it comes to the payment of taxes, yung mga information ng mga, halimbawa, income ng Filipino citizen, pwede mo i-request sa ibang bansa. No? So with this new form, it will now be easier for the BIR to identify the countries kasi nakandun sa face of the return, may disclosure doon. The countries to whom request for information shall be sent for verification purposes. No? So the Bureau see no reason at the moment to amend Revenue Audit Memorandum Order Number 1-2019. Kasi 2019 lang yung ginawa itong Revenue Audit Memorandum Order Number 1-2019. Ito yung Guide on Transfer Pricing Audit, no? Guidelines. Okay. So, question number 3. Who will need to complete the new form? So, sino daw yung magko-complete or magpe-fill up ng new form? No? So, the RPT o the Related Party Transactions Form, yung 1709, no? To be completed by Philippine taxpayers, no? So, yung mga Philippine taxpayers natin with related party transactions, talagang sila yung magpi-fill up ng RPT na form, no? Mandatory sa kanila yun. Regardless of the amount and volume of transactions. So, regardless of the amount or volume of transactions, hindi mo masabi na maliit lang yung aming related parties. Kaya hindi na kami kailangan na magpe-fill up ng form na yan, no? Sabi dito, regardless of the amount. So, kahit na maliit lang yung amount na related party, kailangan pa rin. Excuse me. Inaan mo nga yung aircon. No? Makati na. Kasi maghapon tayo, hindi nakaano. Hindi naman masyadong malamig. Patayin mo yung aircon, buksan mo lahat ng bintana. Hindi naman masyadong malamig. Kasi nasisinghot ko na yung mga amoy. Malamig naman ah. Buksan mo yung mga bintana dyan, pati yung pinto doon. Okay po. Sandali lang po ha. Kasi parang nangangati yung ilong ko sa hangin na hindi na sariwa. Okay. So tuloy po tayo. Saan na tayo? Sa related parties. No, na yung reporting companies, no, na dapat sila required to submit the related party transactions form, no, itong 1709. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, na-discuss ko na sa inyo nung nakaraan itong Revenue Regulations number 19-2020, no, at saka yung how to fill up BR form 1709, no? So ito clarification lang, ito nandito sa RMC na to. So, question number 4. When is the reporting requirement effective? No? Kailan daw to effective? Is the related party transaction form required to be attached to the tentative annual income tax returns or EITRs covering calendar or fiscal year prior to the effectivity of RR number 19/2020. So ito po yung sagot, no? The RPT form is required to be attached only to the AITR, no, annual income tax return. Hindi siya sa quarterly income tax return. Since the law took effect on July 25, 2020, no? So the RPT form is now required to be submitted as an attachment to the annual income tax return for fiscal year ending March 31, 2020. Kasi kailan ba ipafile ang March na annual income tax return? So March, April, May, June, July. So July ang filing. So pumasok siya. So nahagip yung March, no? So tentative or otherwise, irrespective of the date of filing of the said ITR, unto all EITR to be submitted after such date. So nag-umpisa siya ng fiscal year ending ng March. So hagip na yung ending ng April, May, June, July, and so on, no? So not necessarily, pero kung calendar year ka, then ang filing mo April 15 of 2021, then doon ka mag-attach ng RPT, no? Itong 1709 na form. Pero kung ending ka na ng March, April, May, then gagawa ka na ngayon to anticipate na pag-file mo, ng deadline ng filing mo, may i-attach ka na. Okay. So taxpayers who manually filed their ITR and submitted the attachment for fiscal year ending March 31, 2020, prior to the effectivity of RR number 19/2020 are still required to file and submit the RPT form. Halimbawa, yung ending mo naman March 31, no? Pero since ayaw mo ng deadline, earlier nag-file ka na. Still covered pa rin sila na bakit March 37 ito? March 31. 31 ba? March 30 lang ang March, March 30 lang ang March.
Di ba man 31?
31? Oh, tama. Kasi ang January, 31 eh. Pero 7 ito eh. Nakalagay 37, March 30. Ha? Okay. So, yung ending ng March 31, so nahagip siya ng July, kailangan meron na siyang attachment, no? Submitted on or before July 30, 2020. Tapos na, no? Kasi August na ngayon. However, considering the unanticipated effectivity of RR number 19/2020, 5 days before the deadline, no? 5 days before the deadline, kasi 25, so 30. Set for the filing of required attachment to the ITR for fiscal year ending 31 March 2020 and further considering the COVID-19 pandemic situation. Yun ang nakadelay sa lahat eh. Yung pandemic na situation eh. The taxpayers are given another 2 months, no? From July 30, 2020 or after September 30, 2020, within which to prepare, file, and submit the RPT form and its required attachments. Alam niyo, na-review ko yung mga requirements and documentations. Ang dami po, ang dami talaga, no? So, be ready with your documentations. EITRs for calendar year 2019 or for fiscal year ending March 31, 2020 are not covered by RR number 19/2020. No? So, kasi bakit? Yung 2019. Siyempre, last year pa yun eh. No? Ending before March 31. Siyempre, ending before March 31. So, ibig sabihin, pwede silang February, January na ending. So, hindi sila covered. Okay. May question?
Wala po, ma'am. Ano lang, shoutout ko lang, ma'am, si Ma'am Aya Pulido.
Believe ako sa sipag ni Ma'am Aya talaga. Ibang klase, no? Member na po natin siya sa PSTRI. Member na po natin sila, no? Ano po palang benefits natin pag PSTRI members tayo, no? Meron tayong mga free tax updates, and then pwede po kayong mag-use ng library po natin dito. Meron tayo ditong International Tax Libraries, no? So kung medyo malapit-lapit kayo, pwede po kayong mag-spare ng time. Kaso lang hindi pwede pong ipadala yung book sa labas, pero pwede nyo naman ipasirox kung meron kayong gusto, no?
Ito pa ma'am, shoutout ko rin ma'am si Ma'am Sandra Iborda,
Oo, mag-member din yan siya.
si Ma'am RG, Bustamante
Ay,
ma'am.
yes. Ay, Miss RG, nakabili na kami ng libro, yung pinahiram mo na kay Jack de Vera. No? So, thank you talaga. Kaya yung libro mo pwede na namin isuli. No? Nakabili kami online kasi wala sa store. No? So, meron na. Thank you. Thank you, thank you po.
Tapos ma'am si Sir Josefino Relien Jr.
Always. Always yan. Sipag din yan.
Si Ma'am Mercy Martin, at si Sir Alan Sartorio, ma'am.
Si Ma'am Mercy Martin. Oh, so shout out natin kasi yan yung kasama natin sa Zoom, no? Yung ating advanced na bookkeeping, no? Siya ba yung taga Parañaque o yung taga Batanes?
Paranaque mo yan.
Sa Parañaque. Sa Batanes yung si
Cheryl Delatado.
Cheryl Dilatado. Oh. Ang sarap puntahan ng Batanes. Sariwa yung mga seafoods nila. Oh? Okay, so tuloy po tayo So, question 5. If there is an extension to submit the attachment, is there a need to fill out again and resubmit the return with the attachment or with a photocopy suffice? No? So ito yun. Sabi nila, kung may extension daw to submit the attachment, diba yung March 31, ginawang September 30, no? So, kailangan daw ba mag-fill up again and resubmit the return with the attachment? Fill up again, ibig sabihin, naka-fill out na siya, no? Pero kulang siguro yung attachment, no? Anong sagot dito? There is no need to resubmit the EITR, no? Once it has been filed with the BIR, the taxpayer will only have to attach a photocopy of the duly filed annual income tax return when submitting the RPT form and each attachment. So, Xerox copy lang po, hindi na kailangan mag-file ulit. Kasi manually submitted naman tong RPT documents eh. So, hindi na kailangan mag-file ulit ng ITR. Question number 6. What is the manner of filing of the RPT form and its attachments? No? Given the file size, kasi marami to, no? Ang dami talaga sa documentation ng related parties. The related party form and its attachments shall be manually filed, unless there is another revenue issuance mandating their filing electronically. But right now, wala pa. No? So, should be submitted manually. So when is the deadline for submission of RPT form and its attachments? For manual filers, the RPT form and its required attachments must be submitted together. So sabay sa EITR and other required attachment at the large taxpayers division or RDO where the taxpayer is registered on or before the statutory due date. Kasi nga, attachment nga sa EITR, dun sa deadline ng annual income tax return, doon natin i-attach. So for EFP's filers, the hard copy of RPT form and its required attachment must be submitted manually and stamp received. No? Sa large taxpayer division, RDO, where the taxpayer is registered, within 15 days from the statutory due date or actual date of electronic filing of the EITR, whichever comes later. So 15 days daw ang manual. Okay. And or the due date or actual date pagka electronic filing. Okay. So, question 8. If the RPT form will be accomplished and filed manually, are there printed copies of such form available in the BAR offices that taxpayers can use? Oh. Actually, sa totoong buhay po, once na yung mga manual natin na manually submitted na mga forms or whatever, sobrang hirap na yan hanapin pagdating sa BAR. Just imagine yung mga forms or mga voluminous files na nandoon. Sobrang hirap na. Okay. So, the RPT form is downloadable from the BAR website as BAR form number 1709. So, downloadable po siya. As a proof that it was duly received by the BAR, the form must bear the stamp of the office with the date of actual receipt thereon and the signature of the receiving officer. No? So, parang sa ITR din, na talagang may stamp yung receiving officer. Saka na-identify kung sino yung nag-receive. No? Kasi importante yung receive dyan. Kasi yan ang magpapatunay na talagang nag-comply ka. Kasi kung walang receive yan, ibig sabihin, hindi ka nag-comply. No? Okay. So, question 9, manually prepared. The spaces provided for in the form may be inadequate, considering there are a number of related parties in a multinational company. How can this be accomplished? Kasi yung nasa form, kulang na kulang, no? Ang liit lang. So, kung dami mong files, hindi magkasya. Okay. So, as stated in the RPT form, the taxpayer may use additional sheets if necessary. No? So, alternatively, the taxpayer may transpose the form into an Excel format, print copy thereof, and attach it with appropriate marking as Annex A. No? As an integral part of the RPT form, this attachment should be indicated in the appropriate column, for example, in part 2 or 3 thereof, with the notation that C attached Annex A. No? Annex A. Okay. Okay, walang question pa rin?
Wala pa rin po. Nakikinig po sila sa lecture.
Ang daming mga mali sa ano, no? Kasi ano siya yung kinat and paste. Okay. Are all taxpayers with related party transactions really required to attach a TPD? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No? Yes. All taxpayers with related party transactions are required to attach a TPD. No? Third party documentation. Transfer pricing documentation. Local or otherwise, regardless of the amount and volume of related party transactions. So, regardless of the amount and volume, basta related party. No? So, TPD should include the date of creation or preparation so as to ensure its applicability to the RPTs conducted in the taxable year concerned. No? So, anong nangyayari dito sa sabi na should include the date of creation or preparation, no? Kasi sometimes yung mga contract, walang kontrata. Tapos for the sake na gagawa ng documentation, so gumawa ng kontrata. Pero yung kontrata at later date na, hindi talaga mag-apply dun sa original na kontrata na dapat luma na. No? So, ano yung tawag doon? Contemporaneous. It should be existing. Documents should be existing at the time of the transaction. Hindi yung tapos na yung transaction, saka lang nag-document. Okay, so what is the required TPD? TPD, transfer pricing documentation. The transfer pricing documentation to be submitted must be the documentation upon which taxpayers relied to determine the transfer pricing prior to or at the time of undertaking the RPTs. No? Nevertheless, the BAR will also accept TPD prepared not later than the filing due date of the tax return for the taxable year in which the transactions took place. No? Okay. Prepared not later than the filing due date. No? So, ano tong mga RPTs na to? No? Yung related party transactions at saka yung transfer pricing documentation. Kasi ang sabi dito, yung TPD, the taxpayers relied to determine the transfer pricing prior to or at the time of the undertaking. No? So sino yung talagang required? So, lahat ng may related party transactions. And what is the required TPD? Wala silang sinasabi dito, hindi iniisa, no? Isa-isa, no? Pero, pag sinabi mo kasi na transfer pricing documentation, kasama na po dyan yung transfer pricing analysis, no? Kasi, it's only through transfer pricing analysis na masasabi mo na may proof ka that the related party transactions are arm's length. Kasi without that, hindi mo siya ma-proof. Hindi mo ma-prove na arm's length yung transactions. No? So, the BIR will accept TPD prepared not later than the filing due date of the tax return for the taxable year in which the transactions took place. So, dapat yung document mo before the filing date, no? So simply put, what the BIR requires is the TPD prepared prior to or at the time of the transaction. Prior to, ibig sabihin, mas nauna pa siya dun sa transaction. Or after the transaction, but not later than the date of filing of the tax return for the fiscal calendar year or which the transaction takes place, no? So hindi pa masyadong mahigpit dito yung BIR, ha? Kasi ang sabi niya can be prepared prior to or at the time of the transaction, no? Requiring the submission of contemporaneous documentation ensures the integrity of the taxpayer's position. No? So may sinasabi na dito na contemporaneous documentation. What is contemporaneous documentation? Existing at the time of the transaction. No? Okay. Question 12. Is it required that the TPD be updated yearly? No? Does BIR expect to have an annual updated transfer pricing study? Okay. Whether or not the transfer pricing documentation has to be updated yearly, the following must be considered. No? If there are significant changes in the business model, the factors or conditions considered in drafting the TPD, and the nature of the RPTs, then the TPD has to be updated. No? Kung halimbawa may nagawa na kayo, tapos may nagkaroon ng mga significant changes, so dapat mag-update na kayo ng transfer pricing study at transfer pricing documentation. No? If there are none, the old transfer pricing shall suffice. No? So, kung wala talagang changes, kahit na yung old na transfer pricing, will suffice. Pwede na. Hindi na kayo magpapagawa ulit. No? Okay. Question 13. If the parent company has a transfer pricing documentation already covering the transactions with subsidiaries, can the subsidiary use that for their purpose? Can we attach a TPD of the other transacting related party or even the master file of the group? Yes. Yes, ang sagot, ha? Pero may provided. Yes, provided the taxpayer relied upon such transfer pricing documentation in determining the transfer prices. So the local file is preferred, however, since it provides a more detailed information relating to specific intercompany transactions. No? So, pwede. Question 14. For this year's filing, can we attach a past year's TPD? No? So, halimbawa, may transfer pricing analysis na siya last year. Pwede ba i-attach nga yung previous niya sa annual income tax return ngayon? No? So the TPD for the immediately preceding year may apply to subsequent RPT if the transaction for which the past TPD was prepared is of the same type as the transaction undertaken in the taxable year concerned and was undertaken with the same related parties. So, inalaw, pwede, no? Basta daw yung transaction was prepared of the same type as the transaction undertaken. Okay. Question? Wala. Okay. Sige, tuloy. Tuloy lang tayo, ha? Okay. So, the taxpayer can prove that the same conditions which were made the basis for the past TPD are squarely applicable to the RPTs in the taxable year concerned, including but not limited to the following. No? Ito yung, ang tanong, pwede ba yung last year na transfer pricing analysis or documentation i-attach for the current year? No? Okay. The relationship between the taxpayer and its related party, ito yung i-consider mo, no? The conditions made or imposed between them, the transfer pricing methods used for the transaction, and the arm's length conditions. No? Excuse na. Okay, inom lang ako. Okay. Sa question number 15 na po tayo. Can the taxpayer rely on Philippine accounting standards? Yung basis nila kasi dito sa related party transaction, ito yung PAS 24 or Philippine Accounting Standards 24, no, on related party transactions. So disclosures in the audited financial statements when preparing the RPT form PAS 24 as implemented in the notes to AFS typically does not mention names of its related party. Kasi nga, hindi na din i-disclose doon. Although sa dami na nang na-review ko na mga financial statements, yung iba talagang yung pangalan ng mga related parties nakalagay doon sa disclosures, pero meron ding iba na wala. No? Parang dinefine lang nila yung related parties, tapos wala na. No? Does not mention names of its related party. So, would it suffice to just transpose? O, pwede ba daw na yung kung ano yung nandun sa disclosure mo, sa notes, sa financial statement, i-transpose mo lang the notes to AFS, to the RPT form without mentioning the names of its related party. Mahirap siguro kasi gumagawa ako ng transfer pricing analysis. So, anong i-disclose mo, anong ilalagay mo sa report mo kung hindi mo i-disclose yung mga names, no? Ng mga related parties. RR number 19-2020 requires full disclosures, o yun, sinabi na, of all RPTs which is defined as transfer of resources, services, or obligations between reporting entity and a related party, regardless of whether a price is charged. No? So, full disclosure talaga po ang ni-require dito. So, kung ano man yung nasa notes to financial statement doon na full disclosure, dapat mas specific pa itong sa BR Form 1709 o yung RPT. So, unlike the disclosure of related party transactions, the notes to the financial statements, 19-2020 requires more details to be disclosed in parts 2 and 3 of the RPT form, which are not usually disclosed by the company in the financial statements. So, may mga information kasi na yung company mismo, hindi nila dinidisclose, no? Especially kung yung mga confidential na masyado. May question? Sigurado ka?
Good evening lang ma'am sila.
Sige, shout out mo yung mga good evening sa atin.
Si Ma'am Aya Polito po, sabi mas maganda daw and blooming si Ma'am in person.
Tanda na tayo, Ma'am Aya. Pero alam nyo, ako gusto ko as I grow older, mas ako serviceable. Kasi ayaw ko yung, sabi ng ibang matatanda na pahinga na ako, pagod na ako, tapos ayaw na nilang gumalaw, ayaw ko ng ganun. Sabi ko, basta humihinga pa ako, gusto ko. Serviceable pa rin ako. I don't feel like na ayaw na. Kasi ayaw kong umayaw, no? Tuloy lang. Si Miss Aya Pulido is very, very masipag, no? Kahit may COVID, pumupunta sa kliyente. No? Ako dito lang, kaya nagtatyaga ako na ito, online. Kasi hindi ako lumalabas. No? Unang-una, ayoko ng amoy ng mga alcohol. Pagpasok mo sa building, hilong-hilo ako dahil ang baho. Tapos meron pa mga building na ini-sprayhan ka. Oh, kagaya sa central, no, sa iglesia. Pagpasok mo doon sa, no, paglabas mo, pati sa sasakyan mo ini-sprayhan. Bubuksan yung sasakyan mo tapos i-sprayhan ka. Yun nun, sumasakit ang ulo ko, ang baho. Hindi ko kaya. Kaya minsan tinry ko noon na wala na yung lockdown sandali. Minsan tinry ko, hindi ko kaya, no? Kasi may mga alcohol pa rin eh. Hindi ko kaya yung amoy ng alcohol. Pero si Miss Aya talagang para naka-battle gear siya, no? Ganyan pa yung hindi ako makahinga noon. Ay, hindi ko kaya talaga sa totoong buhay. At saka mainit sa mukha yung naka-plastic ka dito at saka may takip pa dito. Hindi ko kakayanin yun, lalo akong hindi makahinga. So, okay na ako dito sa bahay na. So, ano na lang. No? Mahirap.
Shout out po kay Ma'am Judith Perez. Good evening daw ma'am, watching siya from Naga City.
Wow, may friend ako dyan sa Naga City. Yung pamangkin ni Justice Cortez. Si Tess, no, Cortez. Almodovar na siya ngayon kasi yung husband niya, lawyer din, Almodovar. No, nasa Legazpi na sila. Tsaka si Sinying Reyes, yung ating taga-BR din po yan, no? Sama ko na trainer sa BR. From Naga also. No? Shout out sa mga taga-Naga.
Shout out din po ma'am kay Ma'am Ferly Enriquez.
Oh.
Good evening daw ma'am, watching siya from Tansa, Cavite.
Oh, taga-roon ka, no? Tansa, no? Si Harry, yung ating IT dito, is from Tansa, Cavite. Oh?
Tapos may tanong na ma'am ngayon lang po kay Sir, galing po kay Sir Josefino Relien.
Relien, no? Very active yan.
Ma'am Elsa, ang taxing transfer pricing po ba ay para lang sa large taxpayers?
Ay, hindi po. Although, nung nag-umpisa po ang transfer pricing sa Pilipinas, nung mga early stage ng transfer pricing, ang una po talaga na binigyan ng training for the transfer pricing are the large taxpayers. Pero ngayon di na. Oh? Kahit na mga taga-district ngayon o-audit na rin sila about transfer pricing, tinitrain na rin po sila ng BAR. Why? Kasi hindi lang po ito pang large taxpayer, pang lahatan. Oh? Kaya kung mapapansin mo sa related party transactions natin, sa disclosure, regardless of the amount, kahit nga wala silang transaction, basta may related party, di-disclose pa rin. No? So, hindi po siya pang large taxpayer lang.
Wala na po.
Okay. So, sige po ha, tuloy lang tayo ha. Okay. Okay, so part 2 of the form must contain the following, no? The registered name, yung form po na ito na, yung 1709 na, the registered name of the related party, its address in the country of tax residence and taxpayer identification number. Actually, sa ibang bansa po, o kaya meron na tayong tinatawag na global tax identification number, no? Meron na tayong tax identification number na global. Yun po yung tawag dyan, no? So, ano pa yung information na kailangan? A summary of the RPTs per nature of transaction. Meron mo yan. So, very specific na yung information na nire-require. The amount of tax paid in the foreign country on all types of income received abroad and the amount of tax withheld on income payments to foreign-related parties. No? So, yun ang sinasabi ko. Actually, kung titingnan natin yung 2017 na transfer pricing guidelines ng OECD, nandoon ito sa country-by-country reporting, sa master file, no? Nandoon na. Kaya nga, itong ating mga multinationals, nagme-maintain na yan sila kasi required sila, no? Yung master file, country-by-country reporting, at saka local files. Kaya, madali na lang to sa kanila kasi ready na sila with this kind of information. No? Okay. So, number 3, the amount of tax paid in the foreign country on all types of income. So, ano yung mga types of income? Dividend, interest, royalties. Ito yung common Ito yung tinatawag natin na mobile income. Ito yung tatlo. No? Royalties, interest, dividend. Bakit siya tinatawag na mobile income? Because it follows kung nasaan yung tao. So, kung yung receiver ng income na yan is from US, so doon yan ibabayad. No? Because income sa international po natin, ang income is taxable where the recipient is. Ang VAT naman, which is a business tax, value-added tax is taxable at the place of consumption. No? Okay. So, all types of income received abroad and the amount of tax withheld on income payment to foreign-related parties. No? Kaya di ba nagwi-withhold tayo ng mga income, no? May sinasabi natin sa final withholding tax or sa gross receipt, no? Depende sa type of income. Kasi kagaya ng royalties, dividend subject sila sa final tax, no? Pero kung yung dividend, the recipient is other corporation, zero, no? And then meron pa tayong tinatawag na profit remittance tax, no? So, declaration whether or not the taxpayer availed of benefits under the treaty to justify the application of tax exemption or preferential tax treatment, no? Kasi sabi ko nga sa inyo, we have a tax treaty with 43 countries. At pagka kasi may tax treaty tayo with a certain country, mas mababa yung tax rate, no? Between the ikokolekta doon sa mga citizen ng country na yan. So, mutual agreement nilang dalawa yun ng dalawang bansa. So, pag nag-avail ka, mas ma-avail mo yung lower tax rate. Kasi may mga treaty benefits po tayo na tinatawag, no? Okay. Wala nang question?
Wala po.
Okay. Sige. The part is more particular in the taxation aspect of the tax treatment of the income received from or income payments made to related parties, no? So, kasi according to the study, talagang majority ng transactions all over the world are done through related parties, no? Mostly yung international natin na transactions, no, between related parties. So, for instance, if monthly royalty payments, ano yan, hindi ko maintindihan. Sa one-time payment or service fee were made to the parent, ano ba yan? No? In two separate disclosures shall be made since the nature of transactions are different. No? So, ibig sabihin, yung royalty daw, monthly royalty payment, one-time payment of service fees were made to parents. So, two separate disclosures shall be made. Ano tong payment of service fees at ano naman tong monthly royalty? no? Ang service fees, iba to kaysa sa royalty payments, no? Yung service fee, whether management yan or anong klaseng services yan, na binabayaran, tawag doon service fee. But royalty payments is different because royalty payment is the payment for the use of intangible, no? Bawa sa mga ginagamit mo yung tangible, ginagamit mo yung assets ng isang company. So, bayad ka ngayon ng royalty, no? And usually, ano yung tax natin sa royalty, di ba? Final tax na 20%. Samantalang sa service fee naman, pagka managerial yan, professional fee, nagti 10% tayo na withholding, no? 10-15 pagka company. Pagka ano naman, individual, 5 at saka 10%, no? For the service fee. Pero doon naman sa ibang klase ng service fee, 2% lang ng gross. Yun po yung withholding natin. So, two separate disclosures shall be made since the nature of transactions are different. Bakit sila different? Kaya sabi ko, iba yung royalty, iba yung service fees, no? So, different yan. Okay. So, one for the total amount of these royalty payments for the year and another for the service fees, no? Declaration whether or not the foreign taxpayer availed of treaty benefit or preferential tax treatment or tax exemption as the case may be, no? The amount of tax withheld on such income payment shall likewise be made, no? Ano itong mga preferential tax treatment or tax exemption natin? No, ito yung mga PESA registered enterprises natin availing of the 5% preferential tax rate in lieu of taxes. Ano pa itong mga tax exemption na sinasabi natin? Ito yung under Executive Order 226 or the Omnibus Investment Code. Ano to? Yung mga may holiday, especially those who are pioneered enterprises, no? Apply sila niyan and then binibigyan sila ng exemption or tax holidays. Minsan, 25%, no? Yung babayaran nila, then nag-expire ng 5 years. So, depende po yan sa i-grant sa kanila, no? Pero yung PESA, 5% lang yan, preferential rate. Okay. So, Part 3, on the other hand, must contain a more detailed disclosure of the substance, ito substance na, of the recognized income or expenses as a result of this RPTs. Remember ha, substance is very important. Sa mga international jurisprudence po ng mga cases, transfer pricing cases, substance is sometimes the reason na matatalo yung kaso, no? Whether pag sinasabi kasi na walang economic substance, then it can be disallowed, no? It cannot be considered, no? So parang i-continue mo yung audit na parang it doesn't exist, no? Ayun ang sinatawag natin na substance. So disclosure of the substance, no, ng recognized income or expenses. So anong example dito? The aggregate amount per transaction type and per relationship type. Okay. So ano yung aggregate amount per transaction type? So whatever kung ano yung actual na ginawa between the related party, no, on their transaction type. And kung anong klaseng relation sila, parent ba siya, subsidiary, investor ba siya with significant influence, no? So wholly owned ba yung corporation? Kasi pag wholly owned ay ibang usapan yan. Parang pagtingin mo dyan, isang mukha lang yan with the parent company and with the subsidiary niya, no? So number 2, the outstanding balance if payment was made in installment basis. Ano yung outstanding balance? Kung yung payment daw was made on installment basis, no? Terms, interest or non-interest bearing and conditions, secured or unsecured, no? Provisions for doubtful debts and bad debt expense recognized during the taxable year, no? Ito yung mga doubtful debts and the mga bad debt expense. Questionable ka agad to especially if between related parties, no? paano mo iba-bad debt yung receivable mo with the related party? Big question mark yan. Why? Kasi ano ba yung mga requirements natin bago natin i-recognize na bad debt na talaga yung account, no? 'Di ba yung you make an exhaustive effort to collect. Wala ang exhaustive effort to collect yan kasi related party mo lang, no? May influence ka doon and under control mo 'yon. So questionable na po kaagad yung bad debts between related parties. If a domestic corporation obtained loans from its subsidiary on different occasions, the aggregate amount of such loans, not per contract of loan, including its terms and conditions, outstanding balances, and provisions for doubtful accounts, and recognized bad debts for the taxable year, if any, shall be disclosed. Alam nyo, itong mga loans na to, ang dami pong transfer pricing issues sa loans, no? Ito yung tinatawag natin ng mga financial transactions. Napakarami. Oh, may na-review ako noon kasi when I was assigned in the large taxpayers, yun ang trabaho ko po talaga. Ano yun? Lahat ng dockets, lahat ng reports ng examiner, ni-review ko for possible transfer pricing issues. No? Ang dami ko po talagang nakita. Lalo na, siguro hindi nila masyadong napansin kasi wala tayong masyadong batas na transfer pricing noon, lalo na yung mga 2016 na mga cases. Sabi, lalakas ng loob din ng mga accountant sa disclosure nila sa related parties, nakalagay doon. Not arm's length, unsecured. Sabi ko, grabe naman to. Para pang pinapakita pa nila na ang preparation nila ng financial statements are really violations of the arm's length principle. No? Kaso lang dati, hindi naman uulit ang transfer pricing, kaya hindi lang, pinapabayaan lang, hindi lang pinapansin. Pero kung ngayon yan, should not be. No? Kasi pag sinabi mo not arm's length, then disallow ka agad yan. Kasi hindi siya arm's length. No? And then, ang dami na hinihingan ng transfer pricing analysis or documentation, ayaw magbigay. But with this, na talagang very specific na magbigay ka, i-attach mo sa ITR, wala na, mabilis na to. No? Kasi outright ang penalty nito pag wala kang ibibigay na sinabi din sa RR 19-2020 ano yung outright na penalties pag hindi ka nag-attach ng RPT documentation, no? Okay. Verification of the completeness and truthfulness of these disclosures shall be made upon the conduct of tax investigation. No? Question 16. Okay. The enumeration of RPTs in RR 19-2020 is not exclusive. Of course, hindi siya exclusive. Kasi malawak yung related parties. No? Are secondment arrangements with cost recovery, recharging, cost-sharing arrangement considered as related party transaction? Should dividend and redemption of shares be included in the RPT form? Yan yung mga tanong. No? So the enumeration of RPTs in RR number 19-2020 is not exclusive. But from the definition of RPT alone, it can be deduced that the intention is to include within the term all transactions between related parties that result in the transfer of resources, services, or obligations irrespective of their arrangement. No? So lahat na may related party transactions kasama sa tinatawag nila dito na RPT. No? So, question 17, what supporting documents do we need to maintain for the dividend payments? Ito dividend payments lang po ito Di pa ito kasama yung ibang mga transactions. So sa dividend payment daw, ito yung documents. Number 1, the following documents have to be maintained as proof of dividend payment. Certification under oath by the corporate secretary, custodian banks, depository account holders, broker-dealers, stating in detail the legal and beneficial owners of all issued and outstanding shares as of record date, their corresponding subscription, dates of acquisition, percentage of ownership, and the allocation of dividend. No? So, ito, actually, makita mo to sa book of the corporation eh. No? Pagka halimbawa corporation yung ino-audit natin, this are available naman, no? Pwede nating i-request ito. So, more so dito sa RPT, sa related party transactions. No? Another document, general information sheet for the year immediately preceding the date of declaration. For dividend po ito ha. And then proof of payment of such dividend, bank certificate, telegraphic or wire transfer, and other. No? So, nabayaran ba yung dividend na yon? And then proof of payment of withholding tax. No? Kaya, alam nyo, ang advice ko sa mga lawyers, no, yung mga kasabayan ko na mga consultant din, mga retainers din sila ng mga corporations. Ang paalala ko po talaga sa kanila is, when you try to make an agreement, no, nagda-draft kayo ng mga agreement, mga contracts with your clients, sabi ko, be very specific on the provision of taxes. Lalo na, sino yung mag-withhold, sino yung liable ng tax, and then yung rate ng withholding, dapat nakaklarify na yan sa mga provisions po ng contract. Kasi kung hindi, at silent lang, sinong liable ng tax? Siyempre, yung seller. Yung seller naman, dapat nakapasa yung especially VAT sa kung sino man yung kausap niya. So, pagka may kontrata naman at walang provisions, silent ang provision about. Sometimes, nagkakagulo pa, no? So, kaya sabi ko sa mga lawyers, please, when you draft your contracts, be very specific on the provision of taxes, no? Siguro sa mga CPAs natin, ganun din po yung gagawin ninyo. Pagka may mga ginawang mga agreement or whatever, be very specific sa provision ng taxes para naman kasama na yun sa costing, no? And then we have dito pa rin po tayo sa dividend, proof of payment of dividend, bank certificate, telegraphic, or wire transfer, no? Kasi minsan, dividend lang yan, pero sa totoong buhay, hindi naman binibigay, no? Especially kasi related parties lang sila. Proof of payment of withholding taxes, no? Okay. So let's now go to question 18, no? If cost-sharing arrangements are considered as related party transactions, are these required to be in a formal written agreement or will email exchanges suffice, no? Sa akin, personal opinion ko, dapat hindi, no? Kasi yung email, hindi yan detalyado eh, no? Some cost-sharing arrangements are abusive related party transactions, no? So, sinabi na yan dito sa regulations, ha? Di ako nasabi niyan, no? Some cost-sharing arrangements are abusive RPTs, no? Ako, ang dami ko nang nabasa sa cases na talagang kawawa palagi yung subsidiary sa parent, no? Ganun naman talaga sa buhay natin, di ba? Sino ba ang powerful? Yung malaki o yung maliit? Siyempre, always the malaki. Kaya nga sabi nila, big difference. Ano yung big difference? Pag big ka, may difference ka talaga kasi mas powerful ka. Ibig sabihin ng big, in the context of the financial na assets natin halimbawa, no? Sa financial term, in the context of financial relations, no? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng big? Siya yung mas mayaman, siya yung mas maraming pera, no? So, siya yung big, siya yung powerful, no? Okay. Kaya nga abusive eh. Some cost-sharing arrangements are abusive RPTs or related party transactions. This makes necessary the submission of a formal written agreement, no? Kaya nga, ang tanong dito, pwede na ba yung email? No? So, anong sabi? Dapat daw may formal written agreement. Or, ano yung formal written agreement? Contract, no? To prove that these are legitimate expenses. So pag sinabi mo naman na contract, di ba, notaryado, no? In addition to other documents to substantiate the same. So ano yung mga other documents? Can be receipts or the proof of payment and other documents. To prove that the transaction is legitimate and necessary is one thing, and to prove that the transaction has been conducted at arm's length is another thing, of course. Kasi pwede naman niya na sabihin na yun ang agreement nila, pero sa totoong buhay, hindi siya arm's length. No? So, sabi niya, to prove that transaction is legitimate is one thing. No, is one thing. So, how will you prove na legitimate yung transaction? It is not against the law. O kaya naka-dokumento. Paano mo naman masabi na arm's length yung transaction? Ano ba sabi natin about arm's length? Di ba yung transaction should be similar to that of the independent party, no? So kahit na sabihin mo na between related party yung transactions niyan, but if similar lang siya dun sa independent party, then that transaction between related party is at arm's length. Okay, my question?
Meron na.
Sige.
Sabi po kay Ma'am Marie Grace.
Randrap.
Ano daw po penalties for violation of transfer pricing policies?
Ito po sa attachment dito sa BIR Form 1709, 25,000, no? Yung filing pa lang yan. Pero during tax audit, iba pa yun. Depende po sa findings ng examiner, no? Ito kasi filing pa lang ang pinag-uusapan dito eh. Ipa-file mo, i-attach mo kasama doon sa ITR, no? So pag hindi ka nag-attach, meron na siyang penalty, no? And how much is the penalty? 25,000. No? Pero iba pa 'yon, yung totoong transfer pricing audit, halimbawa wala kang inattach. So magiging priority ka sa transfer pricing audit. So depende pa 'yan kung ano maging findings ng examiner. Pag ilalagay na kayo doon sa priority in audit, no? Kasi per se may violation na, no? Okay. Okay. So, are all contracts required to be attached? What if voluminous and multiple contracts are involved? No? So, sabi niya dito, lahat ba na kontrata i-attach sa documents? Ibig sabihin doon sa 1709, pag nag-file tayo ng ITR, no, annual ITR. Actually, ano ba ang requirement natin sa annual ITR? Diba yung lahat ng certificate of withholding na creditable na kiniklaim natin doon, pati yung mga binayan natin na resibo sa quarterly, i-attach natin yan sa ITR, no? So, in that case, kung kasama ito na i-attach natin at napakaraming kontrata, then dagdag, no? May nakikita akong isang ITR, sobrang dami ng kanyang mga withholding naka-attach doon, no? So, hindi kayang bitbitin ng isang tao. So, dagdagan pa nito ng RPT. So, what will happen? No? Baka yung isang, dito, isang truck na, isang ITR pa lang. No? So, sabi dito, are all contracts required to be attached? What if voluminous and multiple contracts are involved? Ano itong mga multiple contracts are involved? Especially yung mga financing companies, no? Ang dami niyan. All contracts are required to be attached, no? Regardless of volume. No? In lieu of submission of hard copies of the required documents, the following procedure shall be strictly observed. So, ang i-attach mo, soft copy. No? Yan na yung reklamo na masyado mabigat, masyado marami. Di soft copy mo. No? So, scan the original copies of all attachment through scanning machine or device. No? Meron tayong mga mabibilis naman na scanner, no? Unless na anuhin na natin yung parang mano-mano dun sa mga scanner na maliliit, no? Tsaka meron pa yata yung mas high-tech kasi scanner, no? Yung ano lang yun, imaging, di ba? Mas high-tech yun kaysa scanner. Yung iba mga taxpayer meron na yan kasi lalo na large taxpayer, malalaking taxpayer, meron na kayo yan, yung mga imaging machines, tsaka yung mga high-tech na scanner, no? So, scan the original copies of all attachment through scanning machine or device. And then, anong gagawin mo? Save the copies in PDF file format and rename its file using the following format, no? Registered name of the taxpayer, type of document, taxable year, no? So dalhin mo 'yan sa BIR, nakalagay diyan. So idikit mo siya, no? Sticker para hindi matanggal. In case of multiple contracts, the file name of each contract shall contain the following information: registered name of the related party, name of contract, no? So dapat meron siyang registered name. So all files shall then be stored in digital versatile disk recorded, no? Recordable, DVD-R. No? So yung bilog, no? Parang plaka. Naabutan ko pa yun sa panahon ko eh, yung mga kanta-kanta na yung nakabilog na diyan, yung sa sound system, ano ba yung tawag doon? Di yung plaka na may umiikot siya tapos may parang needle siya na nandoon, no? Naabutan ko pa 'yon, no? Pero alam niyo, sa totoo lang, yun, matibay, matagal, hindi siya masyado nasisira, no? Kaysa yung mga ngayon na mabilis masira, yung DVD mas mabilis. Yun, matibay yun kasi kahit na ilang years na, napagkatandaan na ng mga tatanda, pwede pa eh. No? Mabagal lang. No? Yung mga kanta ng mga luma, si Eddie Peregrina, si Victor Wood, yung mga platters, no? Maalala ko pa, dun yun sa malaking plaka. Yung parang DVD, yung DVD maliit lang. No? So, label the DVD-R containing the soft copies of the required attachment in accordance with the format prescribed in Annex A hereof. Yung Annex A nila, yung drawing ng DVD, tapos nakalagay doon yung name of taxpayer, no? Yung taxable year, the type of document, no? Okay. Submit the duly accomplished DVD-R to the BIR office where the taxpayer is duly registered. So, kung saan ka registered, doon mo i-submit yung DVD. No? Kasi kung saan mo isasubmit yung ITR mo, doon mo rin siya i-submit. No? Together with sworn certification duly signed by the authorized representative of the taxpayer was the custody of the original documents or has been involved in the preparation and signing of the original documents, stating that the soft copies of the required attachment to the RPT form contained in the DVD-R are complete and exact copies of the original thereof, which shall be made available during audit for verification purposes. Actually po, itong pinapasubmit sa atin ngayon na documentation, parang preliminary lang to, no? Yung totoong submission, yung totoong mga kung kumbaga scrutinize na talaga yung mga records nyo during the audit, no? Depende yan based sa experience ko, depende sa examiner. Pag napunta ka doon sa examiner na talagang kumbaga sa with a telescopic eyes, no, or magnifying eyes, talagang sisilipin kahit yung maliit na issue sa papel mo. Yun ang sabi ng iba na medyo malas ka. Pero kung doon ka naman mapunta sa examiner na ayaw niya na tinignan kahit tapos kaagad yung kaso, di swerte mo. Pero kung doon ka sa medyo malas, no? Although yung experience ko, maraming umaayaw sa akin noon. Ako nag-i-examine, no? Tuwan-tuwa nga sila, umalis na ako ng BIR. No? Pero sabi ko, kung alam ko lang, hindi sana ako umalis, hindi pala sila natutuwa. Hindi pala sila natutuwa na, nasa BIR ako natutuwa sila na umalis na ako. Okay. Anyway, no? Yung mga pinakita nyo yan na i-attach nyo, yung soft copy, patatakan lang yan sa BIR. That's the same procedure with the computerized accounting system, no? Kung anong proseso sa computerized accounting system natin, di ba? Ilagay mo, i-archive mo siya, ilagay mo sa DVD, tapos dalhin mo sa BIR, patatakan. O same din itong attachment sa RPT. No? Pag patatak mo, may stamp receive, lagyan mo siya ng affidavit na ito yung true copy ng original. So, pag natatakan na, ibalik din niya ng BIR sa'yo. No? Kailan yan hahanapin ulit ng BIR? Pagka under audit ka na. No? Bakit ganyan yung ating camera? Parang napaka-dark. No? Yan, no?
Ma'am, may follow-up ma'am si Ma'am Mary Grace, ma'am. Kung meron daw po bang nakukulong.
Sa atin?
Yung sa transfer pricing, di ba?
Yung court po ang niyan, ang nagde-declare because of sa sinasabi natin na due process, no? So, yung sinasabi mo nakukulong, actually, yung sa rate program ng BIR, marami po, no? Kaso lang nagbe-bail sila kasi bailable naman, no? Tsaka hindi sila nagpapakulong, nagbabayad na sila. No? Pero kung yung kulong ang pag-uusapan, mayroon po talagang kulong. Lalo na ngayon, under the train law. At saka lalaki ng penalties ngayon under the train law. No? Talagang iba. And then during the time of Commissioner Hinari, siya yung pinakamarami na may mga kinakasuhan ng mga taxpayers. No? Kaya ordinaryo lang yung pinapasara ang stores. No? Ang dami-dami niyan. Tsaka yung mga kinakasuhan na sabi na ikukulong, marami. Meron akong client. Ilan eh. Ilang client ko na may warrant of arrest. No? Talagang kukulong. So, nagbabayad na sila. Hindi na pinapatuloy yung case. No? Nagbabayad sila ng mahal. Tapos nagbe-bail. No? Ilang client ko na may ganyan. No? Meron pong kulong. Depende yan sa degree ng kasalanan mo, no? Especially yung mga fraudulent, meron 10 years, 20 years. Kasi yung mga tinatawag na natin na large-scale fraud, mataas yun, ang nila, ang penalty. No? Yung sa non-presentation of books, 6 months lang yan nakulong, tsaka 4,000 lang yung bail, no? Pero meron pa akong na convict na taxpayer dahil dyan. Kasi matigas ang ulo eh. Kung ako, i-recommend ko na rin na ipakulong eh. Kasi books lang, ayaw mag-present. No? Tsaka binabaliwala lang yung mga sumpena ng BIR, parang hindi natatakot. Eh, sabi ko wala akong magawa, tuloy. Hindi, naka-warrant of arrest. Okay. So, next. Sabi natin, available yung DVD na yan, yung mga RPT documentation natin during the audit. No? Next, wala na? Wala nang question?
Wala na ma'am.
Sige. Tutulog na?
Yung transfer pricing, talagang...
Akala ko tulog na eh. Kasi hindi ko na sila nakikita eh. Sige. Okay. Next. Would the taxpayer be required to attach all related party contracts, lahat ng related party contracts, entered into during the year, or only those contracts that remain in force upon filing of the ITR? Can representative contracts be attached if voluminous and repetitive? Gandang question to. So, ano sabi? Anong answer? It must be emphasized that the contracts are the primary proof of transaction, and principal and supplementary receipts only serve as supporting, corroborating evidence. No? So, proof of transaction talaga, primary ang contract. So, ano ibig sabihin? The contracts to be attached to the RPT form are those executed by the parties to substantiate the RPTs in the taxable year concerned. So, if the related parties executed a contract in the taxable year concerned, then, but are intended for transactions to be entered into a subsequent year, said contract is not required. Siyempre, hindi naman yun para dun sa taxable year. On the other hand, contracts executed in the previous year but are still enforceable and applicable to the RPTs in the taxable year concerned have to be attached. Basic, no? So, i-attach mo kasi enforce pa yan during the hearing. No? So, may bearing pa yan. Okay, so question 21. In a normal business sale of goods transaction made by a non-resident head office to a Philippine subsidiary, are there other required documentation aside from the sales invoice and delivery receipts? Oh. Okay, anong sagot? Since these are related party transactions, the same must be covered by a TPD and a contract of sale of goods or any equivalent genuine document must be submitted in support thereof. In addition to the sales invoice, delivery receipts, and proof of payment of the consideration. Kasi itong, lalo na sa akin na, anong rationale nito? Bakit kailangan pa na ibang dokumento? Sales invoice, delivery receipts, proof of payment of the consideration. Ito mga after sale na lang to eh. So, but before na nag-agree na sila on the sale or the distributor or on the transaction to sale, wala pa itong mga sales invoice eh. No? Wala pa itong mga delivery receipts. So, una muna yung contract. So, iyon ang pinaka-importante. At ano pa ang laman ng kontrata? Nandun yung mga provisions, nandun yung mga terms. Dito sa invoice, sa delivery receipts, bakit sila secondary? Kasi makikita mo dyan yung amount lang. No? Pero doon sa kontrata, doon mo talaga ma-evaluate if the transaction are arm's length. Doon sa consideration, doon mo siya makikita. No? Although, importante din itong mga sales invoices, delivery receipts. No? Okay, next question. What are the consequences for non-filing of the RPT form and its required attachment? What if there is no actual TPD? Would it be okay to submit the RPT form without TPD attachment? Form na lang. Kawawang form naman. No, wala na attachment. So, anong sagot? Penalty of not less than 1,000 pesos but not more than 20,000 pesos shall be imposed for failure to file the RPT form and its attachment due to reasonable cause and not to willful neglect. No? So, may penalty pag hindi kayo nag-attach. No? Form lang. Form lang. Dapat may attachment yung form. No? Okay. Ito yung section 50, ng 250 ng NIRC, National Internal Revenue Code. No? Ano yung nakalagay dito? Failure to file certain information returns in the case of its failure to file an information return, statement, or list, or keep any record or supply any information required by this code or by the commissioner on the date prescribed. Therefore, unless it is shown that such failure is due to reasonable cause, no? Not to willful neglect, there shall, upon notice and demand by the commissioner, be paid by the person failing to file, keep, or supply the same 1,000 pesos for its failure, provided, however, that the aggregate amount to be imposed for all such failures during a calendar year shall not exceed 25,000 pesos. No? So, ito yung pinaka section 50 na provision. No? So, 25,000 pesos. But if you try to look at the train loan, no, may mga provisions pa rin doon na mas mataas. In case of repetition of such offense, the maximum of the penalty, 25,000 pesos prescribed there shall be imposed. No? Pursuant to section 274. Penalty for second and subsequent offenses. So, hindi nadala. Inulit pa. So, in the case of reincidence, the maximum of the penalty prescribed for the offense shall be imposed. So, maximum penalty na. No? Ito na yung may kulong. No? So, if after receiving valid summons to produce the said attachment, ito na yung sabi ko na dadaan na sa korte. No? The taxpayer still fails or neglect to produce the same. The partner, president, general manager, branch manager, treasurer, officer in charge, and the employees responsible for the violation shall, upon conviction, ibig sabihin dadaan na sa korte, no? Upon conviction, after due process, be punished by a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos, but not more than 10,000 pesos, and suffer imprisonment of not less than 1 year, but not more than 2 years. No? Pursuant to Section 266. Anong sabi naman ng 266? Failure to obey summons. No? So, any person who being duly summoned to appear to testify or to appear and produce books of accounts, records, memoranda, or other papers or furnish information as required. Ako talaga binabasa ko yung provisions, hindi ako nag-i-interpret. So, pasensya na kayo. Kasi ako maingat talaga ako pagdating sa batas. Kaya yung iba na sinasabi, ma'am, binabasa mo naman. Ang binabasa ko po batas, no? Kahit sa harap ng judge, binabasa ko yung batas, no? Nung nag-expert witness ako, talagang nag-o-object yung isa, ay binabasa lang. Eh sabi ko batas yan eh. Hindi pwedeng hindi ko yan basahin. Kasi bakit? Lahat ng words dyan, dapat wala kang makalimutan, pati comma dyan, pati period. Kasi mag-iiba yan. Hindi ako nag-i-interpret, no? Ay ingat tayo pagdating sa batas. Kasi it's not susceptible ng sarili mong opinion, no? Okay, so basahin ko lang yung Section 266, failure to obey summons. So, any person who being duly summoned to appear, to testify, or to appear and produce books of accounts, records, memoranda, or other papers, or to furnish information as required under the pertinent provisions of this code, neglect to appear, hindi nagpakita, or to produce such books of accounts, records, memoranda, or other papers, or to furnish such information shall upon conviction be punished by a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos but not more than 10,000 pesos and suffer imprisonment of not less than 1 year but not more than 2 years. No? So, ito na yung sabi natin na may kulong. Okay? Ano pa to? Yung next question. Mahaba pa pala to.
30 questions siya.
Akala ko matatapos na ako kasi may kulong na eh. Di pa pala tapos.
Sakto yan, ma'am.
15 slides na lang.
15 minutes.
Okay. Sige. Question 23. Please confirm our understanding that the proof of payment of foreign taxes required as an attachment to the RPT form pertains to foreign taxes paid by a Philippine taxpayer for its income earned abroad arising from a related party transaction. No? So, please confirm daw our understanding. Any taxes paid to a foreign country by a Philippine taxpayer must be declared in, and the proof of payment thereof must be attached to the RPT form so the BIR would be able to compute the correct amount of foreign taxes to be credited against the tax due for the taxable year concerned, provided said foreign taxes were not claimed as deductions during the year. No? So, kasi pagka kinlay mo yan na deductions, then hindi mo na siya makredit sa tax mo. Okay. So, bakit yung Philippine taxpayer, kailangan alam natin yung taxes paid niya sa foreign country? Kasi di ba ano ba yung taxability ng Philippine taxpayer? No? Di ba taxable siya income within and without the Philippines? No? So kasama yan sa i-report sa income tax niya. Okay, so question 24. What if the deadline of such foreign taxes is after the deadline of the submission of the RPT form? What should we attach as supporting documents? No? So yung deadline daw ng foreign taxes after the deadline of the submission of the RPT, no? So, ito yung sagot. If the taxpayer earned, ito kasi yung kinaklarify po ng Revenue Memorandum Circular, ito mga gray area na posibleng idahilan later on ng taxpayer, kaya ang ginawa ng BIR, gumawa na sila ng clarificatory, no, na Revenue Memorandum para na-clarify na yung mga possible questions, no? So, if the taxpayer earned an income from its related party in a foreign country but has yet to pay the tax thereon, after the filing of the RPT form, the taxpayer still has to declare in the RPT form such income and indicate in the column for withholding taxes that it did not pay any tax thereon. So, i-disclose pa rin, no? Isama pa rin sa report. Taxpayer must attach the relevant contract, proof of receipt of such income, and a copy of the tax residency certificate issued by ETAD and submitted to the foreign country when it obtained treaty benefits, no? Ano tong tax residency certificate, no? Certificate of residency for tax treaty relief, no? Parang isi-certify ka na residence ka ng Pilipinas in order that you can avail of the tax treaty benefits. If the taxpayer paid the corresponding tax after the filing of the RPT form, taxpayer must inform the examiner during audit of such fact and present the proof of payment thereof. So, i-disclose mo during the transfer pricing audit. Okay, so normally, it will be related party abroad that will have a copy of the proof of payment of foreign taxes or ruling duly issued by the foreign tax authority. So, assuming the related party does not want to share these documents with the Philippine entity, arguing that the BIR does not have power over it, will the BIR insist on getting a copy of these documents? O naman, no? The Philippine taxpayer is typically the one who bears the income tax on any income derived abroad. Therefore, it has the right to know how much taxes did it have to pay in the foreign country, and the right to obtain any document related to the payment of foreign taxes, such as copy of the return filed for said income and or a copy of the ruling issued by the foreign tax authority. Alam nyo, yung mga ganitong klase ng taxpayer, they are very particular on the confidentiality of the information. That's why talagang tagong-tago sa kanila yung information nila. They don't want to divulge, no? Kasi parang napaka ano yun, yung napakahalaga talaga sa kanila yung information. That's why hindi yan nila basta-basta binibigay lang, no? Kasi information can be your source of competitive advantage. That's why yung iba, di ba, nagre-research, exert effort in order to gather information because ang information napakahalaga, especially in business, no? Sometimes information are your source of competitive advantage. Okay. The BIR in turn has the right to obtain relevant information and documents from the Philippine taxpayer and in so doing may enforce all its rights to obtain the same within the bounds of the law. Pero alam nyo, dati ako na evaluate ng mga accounting software, no? Yung mga country manager dito sa Pilipinas, hindi binibigyan ng access. No? Hindi nila alam sa global na network nila. Pagpasok na ng information ng Philippines, hindi na nila alam, wala silang access. No? Sino lang may access? Yung master doon sa information nila. Pero sila dito, hindi alam. No? This is without prejudice, however, to the BIR enforcing its right to obtain said information pursuant to existing and effective tax treaty. At saka hindi lang yun. Meron tayo ngayon na tinatawag na exchange of information, no, with the other countries. At marami ng countries ang signatory dyan, no, sa exchange of information. That's why yung a country, hindi niya pwedeng i-withhold yung information pa may nag-request, no? Full cooperation bigay. Okay. How is the document showing payment of foreign taxes or copy of foreign ruling be acceptable as proof, no? So ano daw yung mga document na pwedeng proof? To be acceptable as proof, document showing payment of foreign taxes or copy of foreign ruling duly issued by relevant foreign tax authority must be duly authenticated or apostillized. Ano yung apostillized? Ang alam mo dyan, pag document coming from the other country, it should be notarized or parang pinapa-consularized, no? So yung doon dadaan yung parang notaryo authentication. Question 27, does Part 4F pertain only to tax treaty relief application involving related parties, no? The TRAs to be indicated in the RPT form must be those filed with the International Tax Affairs Division relative to the income payments made by the Philippine taxpayer to its related parties, no? So it is imperative, meaning it is mandatory for the tax examiner to coordinate with the ETAD as to the status of the pending TTRAs, no? Tax treaty relief application. Okay, so does the BIR apply to non-stock and non-profit corporation? No, yung RR apply to non-stock non-profit corporations or organization? Yes, of course. RR 19/2020 applies to corporation conducted for profit since they are more likely to make material misstatements in their financial statements and tax returns to evade the payment of the correct amount of taxes. Pero non-stock and non-profit corporation is allowed to engage in activities conducted for profit without losing its tax-exempt status for its not-for-profit activities. So, required din siya to comply with RR 19/2020. Basta may related party transactions. Kasi sa experience ko, yung ibang mga group of companies, nagtatayo din sila ng non-stock, non-profit, no? Transaction. So, in that case, may related party transactions. Okay. May question?
Wala mo.
Tulog na? Tulog na sila?
Hindi ba? 10 viewers.
Okay. So, BIR consider data privacy rules? Of course. Tax code does not specifically ask for the data in the RPT form. No? So, ang sabi niya dito, sa question number 29, so, ang revenue officers, para makakuha sila na right information, Section 70 of the Tax Code, no? Ano to? Punishes unlawful divulgence of any person or making known in the other manner than may be provided by law. No? Information regarding the business, income. Ito yung confidentiality ng information. Kaya yung mga examiner are duty bound to protect the information. Hindi nila pwedeng i-devolve yun. But for their use, doon in relation with the tax audit, pwede po sila makapag-obtain. No? Walang violations doon. Yeah. Okay, so revenue officers obligated to ensure confidentiality of information acquired in the exercise of the power shall make them available for public use. Shall not, no, make them available for public use. No? There was a time na hindi kami papasukin sa isang business establishment. Pinapirma muna ng non-disclosure of confidential information. Yung mga kasama ko ayaw pumirma. Kasi sabi nila, BIR kami. Hindi kami pipirma dyan. Sabi ko sa kanila, pirma kayo. Kasi by the nature of our work are confidential. So, it has nothing to do with ito pinirmahan mo. Pipirma ka man dito o hindi, our work is confidential. No? So, ito, they just put it in writing. Pero tayo, sabi ko, kahit walang writing, yung ating information gathered from the taxpayer, hindi mo yan pwedeng i-devolve. Pwede kang kasuhan ng taxpayer dyan. No? Okay. So, data privacy rules, the power of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue to obtain, yan, napaka-powerful yan, dinagdagan pa yan under the train law, no? Yung power of the Commissioner to obtain information sa third party, no? So, pwede siyang kumuha, no? Ano yun? Information necessary in order to carry out the functions of public authority. So, pwede. Especially tax. Diba? Napaka-powerful ng taxation, ng taxing power natin, no? Okay. So, itong mga iba, banks, governed by bank secrecy law, wala yan, hindi yan obra sa BIR. Kasi hindi mo naman din-devolve yung account nila sa bangko, ginagamit mo para sa audit. No? Kaya hindi uobra yung secrecy law ng bank sa BIR. No? Okay. Ito na, in requiring the submission, no, of BIR Form 1709 and its required attachment, the BIR is not examining, inquiring, or looking into deposits of whatever nature with banks or banking institution. No? Ano lang, it requires the bank to fully disclose the related party transactions and to prove the same were conducted at arm's length. No? So, batas yan eh. Okay, so nothing in the said RR requires submission of bank statement. No? Sa audit, lahat na yan pwede nang hingin, no? Pero dito sa RPT, hindi naman hinihingi. Okay. Ito po yung form ng transmittal, no? Sa DVD, ano yung pangalan niya, no? So, meron siyang nakalagay na BR form number 1709 and its attachment, no? The name and TIN of taxpayer, the period covered, the number of files, and then signature over printed name of authorized representative. So, yun po yung DVD-R, no? So, nandiyan na yung period covered, kasi kung anong year, and then the number of files. Tapos may perma, yung authorized representative. No? Okay? So, any question?
Wala akong nagka-question.
Natulog na. No? Okay, so, with that, we would like to say thank you sa ating mga YouTubers. No? Please continue with us at saka kami naman dito kasi ang tax wala talagang katapusan to eh, no? Kasi kaya nga yung ibang mga YouTubers hindi na nila alam kung ano pa yung ipalabas nila sa mga vlog nila kasi wala na daw silang maisip, no? Pero sa tax hindi mo na kailangan mag-isip, sundan mo na lang kung ano yung bago, no? Sa tax talagang hindi ka ma-zero kung itong tax na binablog mo talagang palaging meron. Oh. So, with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone sa mga ka-YouTubers natin. Thank you very much for being with us. And please continue with your support. And we promise to bring you updates in taxation. Thank you and good evening.